Welcome to Design Standup, Episode 4, Beyond Tools, How Building a Design System Can Improve How You Work, Part 1, by Amy Thibodeau of Smashing Magazine. And I'm your host, Ryan Stone, reading to you every Tuesday and Thursday from the best blogs in the design industry, with their permission, of course. It's kind of like a free ongoing audiobook, always being updated with new content from your favorite designers. Whether you are a seasoned design professional or simply a design enthusiast, I am on a mission to help grow your knowledge in all things digital design. I've broken this article from Amy into two parts because it's rich with knowledge and because I love talking about design systems that much. You can catch part 2 in the next episode. So without further ado, let's stand up. Beyond Tools, How Building a Design System Can Improve How You Work, Part 1, by Amy Thibodeau of Smashing Magazine. When high potential projects fall apart, it's often a failure of collaboration and alignment. The tools, the assumptions, the opportunity, and the intentions may line up, but if people don't communicate or don't have a clear map to help them move in the same direction, even the best projects falter. Communication failures are human problems, so they're messy and hard to solve. They involve feelings and a willingness to have uncomfortable conversations. Human problems are abstract. Sometimes it's hard to even define the issue, and progress may be hard to see and measure. Because of this ambiguity, people often look to tools to fix things. Tools for better collaboration, task management, and to enable people to talk to each other. Design systems are one kind of tool that people look to in order to solve problems that are fundamentally about failures in collaboration and alignment. Often, when people talk about design systems, they're really talking about style guides, because that's the most tangible part of the work. The style guide is like the tip of an iceberg. It rises majestically up out of the surface, and it's easy to forget the larger stabilizing force beneath the surface of the water that keeps the whole thing afloat. Among the most important and overlooked forces behind your style guide are the internal workings and culture on your team or with your client. In fact, a style guide is just a map of how a group of people approaches their work. It documents and operationalizes the internal process and culture that already exist. If you're not careful, it can even reinforce bad habits and dysfunctional, siloed ways of working. Since Shopify launched the style guide for the Polaris design system last year, many of the questions I've been asked have been about how we were able to produce something that feels so integrated, where design, content strategy, and front-end development come together to form a holistic picture of how we build our product. These questions usually assume that we were battling to fill a gap between developers and designers, or that some kind of peace treaty must have been brokered between different disciplines to achieve the kind of unity reflected in Polaris. This article will outline some of the ways Shopify structures its UX team and how we use the process of building our style guide to rethink and reinforce the integrated way we approach product development. Whether you work in-house on a team or as a freelancer with different clients, it includes practical advice to help you think about creating a system to enable harmonious, integrated, and fundamentally successful product development. Design system versus style guide. A style guide is the map of your design system. It's the place where you can bring together and make explicit many of the elements related to how you approach UX. It can help to think of design systems as made up of tangible and intangible assets. Most industries have some version of this concept. For example, in the investment world, tangible assets are things like land, vehicles, equipment, machinery, furniture, inventory, stock, bonds, and cash. Intangible assets are defined as non-physical, such as patents, trademarks, franchises, goodwill, and copyrights. At Shopify, we think of our design system as being made up of tangible and intangible elements. For example, some tangible elements might be team members, defined roles and responsibilities, components in our product, the UI kit, content and visual roles, or research and data. Intangible elements might be opinions and assumptions about quality, communication between individuals and teams, aspirations about the future of our product, skills graph, alignment between teams, or UX culture. A large part of the early work of creating the Polaris Style Guide was to determine which of these elements we could and should make explicit in our map. Define the problem you're trying to solve. The first step towards being intentional about your design system is being honest about where you are today. Whether you have a style guide or not, if you build products and have a UX team, you have a design system. It may be a dysfunctional system, but the fact that you have people working together to build something means that it exists. People you're working with will likely have all kinds of assumptions about how a product is designed and built. This is the scaffolding of your system. Prior to building Polaris, Shopify had internal documents that defined some of our most common interface components and some of our content and design rules. We also had ways of working together, including rituals like regular critiques to help build alignment. As the team, product, and even our user base grew, the informal system we were using became disjointed and, because no one team was responsible for it, hard to manage. We were also undertaking a redesign of our core product, and we knew that without a more intentional approach to our system, it would be very hard to coordinate all the different teams and changes that would need to click together. These were some of the problems that led us to revisiting and documenting our design system. Building an intentional design system and the documentation to formalize it are a big investment. Before you start, ask yourself and your stakeholders, 1. How does the system function today? 2. What will be gained or lost from more formal ownership and documentation of the system? And 3. What are the key problems that a more intentional design system would solve? Inventory tangible and intangible elements. Creating an inventory of the tangible and intangible elements of your existing system will help you identify the biggest gaps in how your team is working. It will also point to existing processes and documentation to be clarified, streamlined, and refined. Creating an inventory can be a great kickoff activity that will help get you thinking through how people currently approach their work. How does everyone know what to do? What are the common assumptions people hold about how products are designed and built? What resources and documentation already exist? How do people know they're aligned? How are different disciplines currently collaborating? We found that different teams had different ways of working and had created their own parallel documentation to define processes and opinions. For example, the product content strategy team and the team that writes and maintains the help center had both created artifacts related to content standards. In some cases, these documents were aligned. In other cases, they were in conflict. This pointed to a good opportunity to talk about the gaps and work together to define holistic content documentation. We might not have identified this gap without the important step of doing an inventory. Take a multidisciplinary approach. Hear that in part 2. You just listened to the post titled, Beyond Tools, How Building a Design System Can Improve How You Work, Part 1, by Amy Thibodeau of Smashing Magazine. If you want to learn more about Amy and read some of her other amazing articles on design, just press the link in the show notes or head over to Smashing Magazine at smashingmagazine.com. And while you're there, definitely check out the Smashing membership, the best thing invented since yummy cappuccino. Smashing books, webinars, and conferences for just $1 coffee a month. You can also access this full episode, along with others, at designstandup.com. Well, that's all I have for you today, guys. It's been a pleasure. Until next time, fill up those coffees, turn up those tunes, and design a better world.